Hello and welcome to Vantage This Week, a show where we recap the highlights of the week gone by. Rising tensions persist along the India-Pakistan border amid threats, ceasefire violations, diplomatic offensives, and Pakistan playing the victim card. India is planning a meticulous response. We will discuss all the updates. In Canada, as voters headed to the polls, Jagmeet Singh has emerged as the biggest loser in that election. In the US, after a tariff roller coaster, Donald Trump has reached out to China for a trade deal. We will discuss this and tell you how the US Navy lost a $60 million jet in the Red Sea. All this and more lined up. Let's get started.
Zero tolerance का नीति
Tensions are simmering at the India-Pakistan border. We've got daily ceasefire violations, drills and threats, hotline conversations and diplomatic offensives. India has made its intention quite clear. It is waiting for the right moment to strike back. In the meantime, the military is preparing. India's Navy is holding drills off the Arabian Sea coast. They're firing anti-ship and anti-aircraft missiles. Several rounds have already been completed. The latest is from April 30th to May 3rd. The Navy has designated an area for this drill. It is located just 80 to 85 nautical miles from Pakistan's warships. They too are holding drills in the region. So India is asking them to stay clear of the area. Let me quote what one officer said about this. "We have made it clear that if any warship or ship that enters that zone, she will do so at its own peril." That's a very clear warning to Pakistan. Stay away from our path. Pakistan's Navy has also issued a notification for missile firing. Now, this is their fourth notification in the past week. But so far, they haven't fired anything. Only warnings, no missiles. What they have done is release a video. It shows a montage of Pakistan's naval drills. Take a look at this. India has test-fired missiles. Our warships are equipped with BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles. Multiple live firings have been done so far. The Indian Air Force is also stepping up. Last week, we saw the Akraman military drills. India's Rafales and Sukhois practiced ground strikes over the central part of the country. Today, we saw another impressive display. Indian fighter jets flew over the state of Uttar Pradesh. They landed on an expressway there. Take a look at this. Why an expressway? Think of it as a backup option. Say the enemy destroys your air bases. You will still need to land and operate your warplanes. Enter expressways. Some of these roads are equipped to land fighter jets. Uttar Pradesh already had 3 such runways. This is the 4th one. And unlike Pakistan's Air Force videos, this is all legit. It is not lifted from a video game. It is not cropped from a SpaceX rocket launch. The Indian Air Force actually did all of this. These videos are part of a larger strategy. Most countries deploy it nowadays. They show off their military prowess with videos of drills. It's a bit like boxers preparing for a match. Most of them post videos of their training regimen. The idea is not to entertain people. The idea is to deter your rival, to show them what they're up against. India is doing this on 3 fronts. You've got missile drills in the Arabian Sea, air drills in central and northern India, and retaliation along the line of control. Like I said, Pakistan has been firing across the LoC. Yesterday marked the 8th consecutive night of ceasefire violations, and India is responding in kind. These military moves are one part of India's 3-pronged response, arguably the most important one. Home Minister Amit Shah made that clear yesterday. He promised to hunt down and punish the Pahalgam terrorists.
कश्मीर में जो आतंकवाद चला रहे हैं, उनके खिलाफ जीरो टॉलरेंस का नीति है। और आज वो ये न समझ ले कि हमारे 27 नागरिकों का जान लेकर ये लड़ाई जीते हो, कि लड़ाई का अंत नहीं है। हर व्यक्ति को चुन चुन कर जवाब भी मिलेगा, जवाब भी लिया जाएगा।
So that's the first part, hunting the terrorists and preparing a military response. The second part of India's response is diplomatic. India has reached out to 100 plus countries. Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar himself has spoken to at least 10. The goal is to build a campaign against Pakistan to isolate Pakistan on the world stage. And finally, the third part of India's response, choking Pakistan's economy. Reports say India will push for Pakistan's return to the FATF grey list. The FATF, as you would know, is the Financial Action Task Force. It has 40 member countries. Its job is to crack down on money laundering and terror financing. If you're in the grey list, you will be under scrutiny. Your foreign investments, your multilateral loans, all of it will be heavily regulated. Pakistan used to be on the FATF grey list for terror financing, but thanks to China and Turkey, they exited the list in 2022. Now, India is hoping to put them back on that list. India is also putting pressure on the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, or as Pakistan calls it, their credit card. The IMF has approved yet another bailout for Pakistan. It's their 24th IMF bailout program since independence. 24 programs, the highest number for any country anywhere in the world. This one is worth $7 billion. But India could be planning to oppose it. And the concern here is quite obvious. None of this money is reaching Pakistanis anyway, so chances are it is being used to fund terrorism. Of course, India alone may not be able to do this. Our voting share at the IMF is only 2.75%, but that's where diplomacy is so important. New Delhi must build a global campaign against Pakistan, cut off their political support, choke their financial bailouts, and then cripple their terror networks.
India responds in a way that doesn't lead to a broader regional conflict.
So Pakistan is talking about spilling blood. What is the rest of the world doing? They're asking India to calm down. The latest on the list is US Vice President J.D. Vance. He was in India when this attack happened. He was here. He says India should respond without triggering a regional conflict.
Our hope here is that India responds to this terrorist attack in a way that doesn't lead to a broader regional conflict. And we hope, frankly, that Pakistan, to the extent that they're responsible, cooperates with India to make sure that the terrorists, sometimes operating in their territory, are hunted down and dealt with.
Well, that's not up to India, is it? New Delhi is responding to an attack on its people. It is not the aggressor here. It is simply retaliating. But credit where it's due, J.D. Vance did not request India to not attack. He acknowledged that India has a right to hit back. Now look at the second part of his statement. And I'm quoting here. We hope that Pakistan, to the extent they're responsible, cooperates with India to make sure that the terrorists sometimes operating in their territory are hunted down and dealt with. That's the statement. So many caveats there. Pakistan, to the extent that they are responsible, and terrorists sometimes operating from Pakistan. In other words, America still does not sound convinced, even if they know the truth. They want to support India, but they won't call out Pakistan. Yesterday, the US defense chief also reached out to India. His name is Pete Hegseth. He spoke to India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh. Let me quote the Indian readout from that conversation. Secretary Hegseth said that the US stands in solidarity with India and support India's right to defend itself. It is very similar to what J.D. Vance has said. Washington is not opposing India's retaliation. They're trying to contain it. And this is familiar territory for Trump officials. Donald Trump was president in 2019 as well. That's when India carried out the Balakot airstrikes. Back then, Trump officials tried to diffuse the tensions. The president briefly hinted at this during a podcast last year. He talked about offering help to Prime Minister Modi. And Trump claimed that Modi rejected the offer. Apparently, he said he could handle it himself, which frankly sounds about right. India is not asking other countries to fight for us. We are not asking them to send us weapons. All we are saying is, don't come in the way. If you can't work with us, do not work against us. Unfortunately, no one is listening. These US officials talk about standing with India, yet they keep arming Pakistan. If fighting breaks out, what is Pakistan's most lethal weapon? The F-16 fighter jets. And who supplies and maintains these jets? It's the Americans. In February, Trump approved a military package for Pakistan. It was worth around $400 million. And what was it for? To maintain Pakistan's F-16s. This is the same Trump who cut aid to the whole world. He ended funding for hospitals and for research. But the same Donald Trump gave $400 million to Pakistan. This is the double game that America plays. Washington wants closer ties with India. So yes, they talk about solidarity. But New Delhi must be clear-eyed about their intentions. If the US is serious, here's what they must do. First of all, call out Pakistan. J.D. Vance wants to know the extent of Pakistan's role. Well, we'll tell him it's the full extent. Secondly, stop arming Pakistan. You talk about India's right to defend itself, but on the other side are your fighter jets. And America is not the only guilty party here. Most countries do the same thing. They condemn the terror attacks, they stand in solidarity with India, but they stop short of blaming Pakistan. It is time for India to accept this reality. Yes, you must try to build political consensus, but don't pin your response on that. A powerful country does not need sign-offs from others. It responds, even if alone. So Pakistan is protecting its most important asset, and that is Hafiz Saeed. What about the rest of the country? We are seeing some new developments and movements. Of course, none of this is official. It is based on intel reports and surveillance. Pakistan is apparently rushing resources to the frontier, both the LoC and the international border. This includes radars, air defense systems, and soldiers. Reports say 2 divisions have been moved to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, or POK. The 6th Armored Division, which includes tanks and combat vehicles, and the 7th Infantry Division, which is made up of foot soldiers and light artillery. Radars are also being placed near POK. One such facility is in Chor in Sindh. Pakistan has set up a TPS-77 radar site there. This is just 60 kilometers from the border. And what does it do? Well, radars monitor the airspace. They detect aircraft and possible airstrikes. And speaking of aircraft, where are Pakistan's fighter jets? Well, sources say the Air Force has cut down operations by 50%. Their goal is to avoid mishaps in the sky. As for the jets, they are being moved around. Some reports say the F-16s have been shifted to Lahore and Rawalpindi. Others say they are heading to Gwadar. Why Gwadar, though? Because it's located far away from the border. Perhaps the idea is to protect these jets from Indian missiles. And finally, you have air defenses. Pakistan's best system is the HQ-9. This is a missile system produced by China. These are also being used to secure the border area. Clearly, there's a lot of focus on the skies. Pakistan is using radars, electronic systems and air defenses. Maybe they fear a repeat of 2019. That's when Indian Air Force jets crossed into Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They destroyed terror camps in Balakot in Pakistan. Last time, Islamabad was caught napping, so this time they are on alert. So alert that they're imagining stuff. Look at this report in Pakistan state media. It says Indian Rafale jets were patrolling the skies over Kashmir, so Pakistan scrambled jets of its own. Islamabad claims that they managed to scare away the Rafales. Sounds like classic Pakistani fiction. Defense experts have dubbed it propaganda. There is no visual evidence, no radar footage, not even an official statement from Pakistan's military. Plus, Rafales are frontline assets. They do carry out operations over Indian skies, and these planes and pilots do not panic. They are built to handle routine interceptions. Maybe it's all part of mind games, and that's what India will have to guard for. Pakistan cannot match India in conventional warfare. So they could resort to unconventional means, like propaganda and cyber attacks. In fact, last week, the Indian Army's nursing college website was hacked. The hackers left a message on the screen. It said the two-nation theory is not just an idea, it is the truth. And it's very similar to what Pakistan's army chief said. Days later, the army school websites were hacked and their home pages were defaced. This week, the website of Rajasthan's education department was hacked. The hackers left a message on the page. It called Pahalgam an inside job. So overall, Pakistani cyber attacks seem to be rising. A common hack is to put the Pakistani flag on OTT websites. Such instances have gone up by 10 to 15%. Clearly, there is a dedicated cyber campaign here. India must guard against such strategies. We may have the advantage on the battlefield, but Pakistan will play dirty. Our air defenses can handle their aircraft, but our firewall needs to handle the hackers. Have you ever wondered how terrorists from Pakistan cross into India? By damaging the border fencing? Well, sometimes. During the thick of winter fog? Perhaps. Or by asking the Pakistani army to give cover fire? Most definitely. But today we'll tell you about one more terror path, one that is hidden and secretive. I'm talking about tunnels. And not a one-off tunnel, but a full-fledged network of tunnels. Indian armed forces are on the task. They're investigating multiple tunnel openings, mostly in the border regions of Jammu. These are tunnels that originate from Pakistan and snake their way into India. The purpose, you ask? Cross-border terrorism. We told you how the recent Pahalgam terror attack was inspired by Hamas. But the linkages go deeper. The tunnels are a case in point. Hamas used tunnels to attack Israel. They have an extensive network of tunnels. Pakistani terrorists are now doing the same to attack India. In the last 2 decades, India has uncovered 22 tunnels. That's right, 22 tunnels. All of them originate in Pakistan, and terrorists use them to enter India. Now, you may remember the Pulwama suicide bombing. 40 Indian troops were killed. This happened in 2019, and one of the key terrorists behind that attack entered India using a tunnel. Then the Nagrota army camp attack that happened in 2016. All 4 terrorists came from Pakistan using tunnels. Indian security agencies have noticed a pattern. Most of these tunnels are in the Jammu sector. Some have also been found in Samba and Kathua, which are both districts in Jammu and Kashmir. They have all one thing in common: a border with Pakistan. That's what they have in common. Indian forces say that they find more tunnels in Jammu than in Kashmir, and there's a reason why. Jammu is flat land. It is also a river basin. The soil is loose, which is perfect for digging. But it's a nightmare for spotting. And it is not just terrorists. These tunnels have been used for other things as well, like arms smuggling, narcotics smuggling, intelligence gathering, all sorts of things. Some tunnels were found to be 30 meters deep and 500 meters long. A few even had oxygen supply systems. Who is the mastermind behind these tunnels? It's the Pakistan army. And the Indian forces have shared evidence. These tunnels were reinforced with sandbags. All of them had markings that said "Made in Karachi." Manual checks by the Indian Army have revealed that some tunnels led straight to Pakistani army posts across the border. This screams Pakistan Army's involvement. Their tunnel rat operations have been exposed now. They cannot put the blame on rogue elements anymore, which brings us to the challenges. How is India dismantling Pakistan's terror infrastructure? With drones and with technology. Let me explain this. Indian armed forces have deployed swarms of drones. This is in Jammu's districts. All border activity is being tracked here. Some of these drones even have ground-penetrating radars. These emit radio waves to locate underground structures, like tunnels. So that is step one. Step two, seismic sensors. These have been deployed near the border. They can detect any geoactivity like digging and trenching. Even the ground vibrations made by a shovel are detected. Then there is high-quality satellite imagery. These have already been put to good use. Now let's look at step three, artificial intelligence. AI-enabled smart fences are being installed. They are optimized for detecting human movement. But the most trusted technology is still human intelligence. No sensor can replace an informed soldier. India is implementing some tried and tested conventional methods like anti-tunnel trenches. These are deep channels dug along the border. They make detection of tunnel openings easier. So Pakistan may be digging terror tunnels, but India has dug deeper with strategy and innovation. The truth is, Islamabad's playbook has not changed one bit. It continues to export terrorists by using these tunnels. Pakistan cannot think beyond proxy wars. These tunnels are not just about infiltration. They reflect the mindset of a terror-sponsoring state. They can keep denying involvement, but these tunnels speak louder than Pakistani statements. Our next story is a tale of two borders, one burning with violence, the other bracing for it. On one side is the Leepa Valley. This is in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, or POK. On the other side is India's eastern flank, the border with Bangladesh. Is this a coincidence or a calculated move to threaten India? Let me start with the Leepa Valley. This is a 9-kilometer stretch near the line of control. It is under Pakistan's occupation, this valley. It is one of the most heavily militarized zones in the region. And now it is a major flashpoint. Pakistani posts in the Leepa Valley have fired into India. India has responded in kind, and the retaliation has been too much to handle. There are reports of casualties in Pakistan, but their army, as always, remains tight-lipped. So why is the Leepa Valley turning into a flashpoint? Let me give you some context. This valley has for long been a route for infiltration. Terrorists from Pakistan would enter India via the valley, and they would get cover fire from the Pakistan army. Every time tensions have flared between India and Pakistan, the Leepa Valley has been the first to turn hot. Let's go back to the 1971 war. That's when India helped in the liberation of Bangladesh. The main military campaign was in India's east, but Jammu and Kashmir also saw intense fighting, including in the Leepa Valley. India inflicted severe damage on Pakistan. Pakistani military posts were destroyed. Indian troops even captured the whole of the Leepa Valley. Pakistan was eventually defeated in Bangladesh. 93,000 troops, 93,000 Pakistani troops surrendered in that war. The Shimla Agreement was signed, and India had to return the Leepa Valley to Pakistan. Fast forward nearly 4 decades to the year 2016. The Lashkar-e-Toiba attacked an Indian army camp. 19 soldiers were killed in Uri in India. India retaliated with cross-border raids. Pakistani posts in the Leepa Valley were destroyed again. Now the area is tense again. India's military planners are considering seizing the Leepa Valley. These are just reports as of now, but the storm is brewing. So that's the story of the first border we told you about, the Leepa Valley. Now let's shift gears to India's eastern front. That is the second border. This is India's border with Bangladesh. The Indian army is increasing readiness along this border. The reason, you ask? Pakistan, of course. Indian intelligence has issued a warning. There's Pakistani presence in Bangladesh. This includes ISI and army officials. Indian agencies believe that Pakistan is reaching out to radical Islamists in Bangladesh. There are whispers of sleeper cells and extremist groups. And look at the timing of these warnings. They come after tensions flare between India and Pakistan. Is Islamabad looking at a second front? Well, there have been signs. We told you about ISI chief Asim Malik on today's show. Pakistan's recently appointed NSA, that's Asim Malik, he was in Bangladesh in the month of January, and he met Bangladesh's army chief in Dhaka. And the two agreed to increase military cooperation between Pakistan and Bangladesh. The result is this. Bangladesh has opened its doors. Pakistani army officials reached Dhaka in February. They are now training the Bangladeshi army. And irony just died 1,000 deaths. Pakistan was once the oppressor in Bangladesh. Their army, the Pakistani army, mass-raped women and carried out a genocide in Bangladesh, and now they are training the Bangladeshi army. India has raised concerns about this. Intelligence agencies are also sounding the alarm. The truth is that Bangladesh under Mohammad Yunus remains shaky. Radical Islamist outfits have become popular, like Jamaatul Mujahideen and Ansar al-Islam. Given the Pakistan Army's affection for radicals, they could mobilize threats in Bangladesh. So India is not taking any chances. The army has increased patrols along the Bangladesh border. The message from New Delhi is this: there will be zero tolerance. So what are we looking at? Two separate incidents on two separate borders, one along the LoC, the other along Bangladesh. But they have markers of coordination. For now, India is watching every move on both the fronts, Pakistan to the west and Bangladesh to the east. Comeback season in Canada. Their elections were concluded late on Monday, and the big news is this: the Liberals are poised to form a government again. This is the party that was led by Justin Trudeau. Now it is led by Mark Carney. Trudeau had led the party to the ground. They were trailing the Conservatives by more than 20 points. Let me repeat that, a 20-point gap with the Conservatives. That's where Trudeau left the party. The election was seen as a done deal. But then came Donald Trump. He injected nationalism into the Canadian campaign, not on purpose, but accidentally, because he kept talking about turning Canada into the 51st American state. The Liberals tapped into that. They billed themselves as the party that will stand up to Trump. And the Conservatives, well, they were seen as soft on Trump. The strategy paid off for the Liberals. Last we checked, the Liberals are projected to win 168 seats. That is 8 more than the last election, but still 4 short of majority. The Conservatives are on track to win 144 seats, but their leader, Pierre Poilievre, has lost his own seat. On the third position is the Bloc Québécois, and fourth is the New Democratic Party of Jagmeet Singh. Now, if the Liberals reach 172, they can form a government on their own. That is the magic number, 172. If not, they will take help from others. They want 4 more as of right now. Either way, one thing is quite clear. Mark Carney will stay on as Canada's Prime Minister. His biggest challenge will be Donald Trump, something that was clear from his victory speech.
As I've been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen.
Prime Minister Modi has congratulated Carney. Listen to his message, and I'm quoting: India and Canada are bound by shared democratic values, a steadfast commitment to the rule of law, and vibrant people-to-people ties. I look forward to working with you to strengthen our partnership and unlock greater opportunities for our people. Now, this is a consequential result for India. I'll give you 2 reasons why. Number one, this is a continuation of liberal rule. India-Canada ties have deteriorated under them. Things reached rock bottom when Trudeau accused India of killing a Khalistani in Canada. The question is, will Carney be the same? He is seen as more pragmatic and more businesslike and less emotional compared to Trudeau. Still, he rode a nationalist wave to power, so let's see if that influences his policy towards India. That is one reason. Secondly, it's a resounding rejection of Khalistani politics, and that's very important for India. It's a rejection of the Khalistanis, especially of this man, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. He cheered Justin Trudeau's actions against India. He openly supported Khalistanis based in Canada. And where is he now? Broken and defeated. Jagmeet Singh lost his own seat yesterday. His party was reduced to single digits. In fact, somebody should do a case study on this man. In 2011, this party, the NDP, had 103 seats. In 2015, it was down to 44 seats. By 2019, they had only 24 seats. In 2021, they had 25 seats. And this time, they're projected to get just 7 seats. From 103 to 7. Jagmeet Singh has basically run this party to the ground. Yesterday, he announced that he was resigning.
I've been informed our party leader that I'll be stepping down as party leader as soon as an interim leader can be appointed. Now, I could not have done this incredible job without, here's a point, give me a second to break down a bit. We may lose sometimes, and those losses hurt, it's tough. But we are only defeated if we stop fighting.
Well, we say, chin up, Jagmeet Singh. Maybe you could run for office in a fictional country, like Wakanda or Khalistan. The fact is, this was always going to happen. Jagmeet Singh was supporting terrorists living in Canada. He defended separatism and violence as free speech. Did he really think that that was a winning pitch? Well, the voters in Canada have spoken. They have booted Jagmeet Singh out of the parliament. But other Indian origin leaders have done well. Overall, 75 candidates had Indian ethnicity in this election. Out of them, 23 are projected to win. That is up from 19 winners in 2021. Now, usually such cultural and ethnic ties lay the foundation of a solid relationship. But thanks to Jagmeet Singh, it was the opposite. His actions kept India and Canada apart. Let's hope this election will change things. We'll be closely tracking the moves of the new Canadian government. The US-China trade war has been quite the roller coaster. Donald Trump slapped tariffs on China. Beijing fired back. Trump doubled down. 145% tariffs on Chinese goods, up to 245% on some items. 245% tariffs. China hit back harder. And the cycle began in February. It continued for 2 months. Trump expected China to blink, but they held on. So the US, it seems, is starting to fold. First, they rolled back tariffs on consumer electronics, and now they're pushing for a trade deal with China. Reports suggest the US has reached out to the Chinese. But is a deal really in the works? Let's look at where things stand. Last week, Donald Trump gave an interview to the Time magazine. He said Xi Jinping had called him. China immediately rejected this claim. They said no such call had taken place. Then, on the 24th of April, Trump made another claim. He said that the US and China are talking.
Can you clarify with whom the US is speaking with China? They're saying it's fake news that trade talks are happening.
Well, they had a meeting this morning, so I can't tell you. It doesn't matter who they is. We may reveal it later.
Who were these people? What are they talking about? The US president gave no details. Then came a prompt denial from Beijing. China said no such talks were taking place. In fact, Beijing called it bullying.
They make up bargaining chips out of thin air, bully and go back on their words, which makes everyone see one thing more and more clearly. That is, the so-called reciprocal tariffs severely go against historical trends and economic laws, impact international trade rules and orders, and seriously impair the legitimate rights and interests of countries.
On April 28, Trump's Treasury Secretary was asked about this. He said the onus was now on China, that they must dial down tensions. So Washington was constantly changing its stance. Beijing was constantly denying talks. And they kept going back to square one, a trade war between the world's 2 biggest economies. But now there seems to be some sort of a détente. Chinese media claims that the US has reached out. They contacted Beijing through multiple channels to talk tariffs. And what has China's stance been like? Well, they haven't said anything explicitly, but their state media is softening its position. They say that there is no harm in talking, that engaging with the United States is okay. So there are some signs of a truce, or they're working towards a truce. But it's not happening fast enough because Trump's tariffs were announced last month. And since then, the US economy has been reeling. It has contracted for the first time in 3 years. The GDP decreased by 0.3% in the first quarter. Inflation is soaring, and it is all because of Trump's tariffs. US businesses are yet to feel the full impact of it, but the tensions have already hit exports, especially that of soybean. Cargo shipments from China have also plummeted, but Trump remains confident. He says it is Beijing that will feel the blow.
I know that China is doing very poorly right now. I just saw some reports coming out, and I don't want that to happen to China. I like the president a lot, President Xi. I don't want it to happen. I was actually saddened to hear it, but they are getting absolutely hammered in China.
But is China really feeling an impact? President Xi Jinping says Beijing won't back down. China's foreign ministry even released a video. It said it would never kneel down to the United States.
The U.S. has stirred up a global tariff storm and deliberately targeted China, playing a 90-day pause game with other nations. Kneeling only invites more bullying. China won't kneel down.
But what about the economic impact? Well, right now, Chinese businesses are looking beyond America. They're choosing other markets like South America and West Asia. But that does not mean that the Chinese economy is immune to all of this. There is a slowdown in manufacturing in China. Export orders have plunged. So the first signs of damage are there. It could only get worse in the coming days and weeks. So where does that leave us? Right now, both countries are stuck in a strange kind of limbo. The US is trying to look tough, but it's clearly hunting for an off-ramp. China is pretending to not care, but make no mistake, it is watching every move. Both economies are bleeding. Neither wants to be the first to blink, but someone will have to. Now, we don't know who that will be, not yet. But if you squint at the signs, they seem to point to Washington. In this first round, America came calling. China let the phone ring. And sometimes in diplomacy, as in dating, that says everything. Now let's look at the US Navy. They have a well-known motto. It's called, "Don't give up the ship." They seem to have taken this literally. The US Navy's aircraft carrier Harry Truman is in the Red Sea. Yesterday, they came under attack from the Houthis in Yemen. Evasive actions were launched. The warship made a hard turn to dodge the incoming threats. And the result? The Houthi missiles were defeated. But the US lost a fighter jet. Not to the attack, but to the Red Sea. In an attempt to keep the ship safe, the crew lost control of a jet which fell overboard into the sea. This is not a plot from a Top Gun movie. This is a real-life blunder, one that has left the United States military red-faced. Now, let me give you more perspective. The USS Harry Truman has been tasked to deal with the Houthis. Fighter jets are launched from the deck. They drop bombs on the Houthis, and this happened yesterday as well. Everything was routine. It was going according to plan, until the ragtag Houthis shot back. The American warship made a hard turn, and in the blink of an eye, an F-18 Super Hornet fell into the Red Sea. One US Navy sailor sustained injuries. The jet, well, that is gone. It is now at the bottom of the ocean. And this is no ordinary aircraft. An F-18 Super Hornet costs around $60 million. That's more than the defense budget of some nations, $60 million. These warplanes are meant for carrier-based operations. They have advanced technology. The Super Hornet is one of the best for maritime roles. And one aircraft is now in the Red Sea. The Houthis have dealt $1 million blow for a fraction of the cost. We don't know if the jet was armed with weapons or if the US plans on recovering it. What we do know is this: the US Navy is in damage control mode. They say the jet just rolled off the deck and that the Houthi attack had no role in this incident. How can a $60 million aircraft just fall overboard? Somehow the details don't add up. The Houthis, of course, have claimed victory and taken all the credit.
قامت القوات المسلحة In response to this aggression and its crimes against civilians, the Yemeni armed forces targeted the American aircraft carrier Truman and its accompanying warships, engaging them in a joint operation carried out by the naval forces, the drone air force, and the missile force. The operation involved several cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones over the past hours.
But there is more to this Truman show. This is not the first time the aircraft carrier has lost a fighter jet. 4 months ago, the warship lost another Super Hornet. That one was blamed on friendly fire. In 2022, another F-18 was blown overboard. The culprit, unexpected winds. This is starting to look like a pattern for a Navy that takes pride in being a dominant force. These lapses raise uncomfortable questions. How can a $60 million jet just fall off the deck? Is it poor training? Is it faulty protocol? Or is it lack of leadership? The U.S. Navy has launched an investigation. The Pentagon says the warship is still mission capable. But 2 lost jets in 6 months paint a different story. The Red Sea is turning out to be a costly gamble for Washington. The cost of the 2 Super Hornets is upwards of $120 million, and the Houthis have extracted even more. They have shot down at least 7 MQ-9 Reaper drones, and this is just in the last 6 weeks. Each drone is worth $30 million. Combine the jets and the drones, and the U.S. has suffered losses worth more than $330 million at the hands of this Yemeni group. Now look at the Houthis. The rebel group fires cheap missiles and drones. They cost a few $1,000s. So the Houthis are winning the war of economics. But of course, they're paying a different price. The US airstrikes on Yemen continue. Hundreds of Houthi rebels have been killed. Their weapons and ammunition have been targeted. Yet the Houthis refuse to move an inch.
The Yemeni armed forces will continue targeting and pursuing the aircraft carrier and all hostile warships in the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea until the aggression against Yemen stops.
The United States is feeling the heat. For a self-proclaimed superpower, the campaign against the Houthis has turned into a PR nightmare. With every incident, whether it's a friendly fire or a jet overboard, the US is losing millions of dollars. And losing face, of course. The Houthis are more than happy with the outcomes, even if they were aiming for something bigger. So will Washington double down, or will it rethink its approach? Now let's turn our attention to the Indo-Pacific region, where a PR wrestling match is underway. And the trophy is a tiny mass of sand in the West Philippine Sea. These are strategic waters. They're highly disputed. Parts of the sea are claimed by many governments, including the Philippines. But China, being China, claims ownership of almost all of it. Now, China and the Philippines have conducted rivaling photo opportunities in the waterway. They have each unfurled their national flags on tiny sandbars in the West Philippine Sea, or what Beijing calls the South China Sea. This is stoking up long-standing regional tensions. But why now? And what will become of this? Here's a report.
When it comes to politics, optics matters. Sometimes they can help in diplomacy, but sometimes they can ratchet up long-standing regional tensions. We are talking about the rivaling public relations stunt by China and the Philippines. The 2 countries have each unfurled their national flags on a tiny mass of sand in the West Philippine Sea, or what Beijing calls the South China Sea. This is a strategic waterway in the Indo-Pacific region, and it is widely seen as a flashpoint for global conflict. Several Southeast Asian nations claim parts of the sea. But China has claimed its ownership over most of the waterway, despite an international ruling saying that it has no basis. Over the past 2 decades, Beijing has occupied many obscure reefs across the sea, even if they are far from its shoreline. It has built up military installations and ports on them. And now, it is clicking pictures over a small sandbar in the sea, the Sandy Cay. This is a string of 3 uninhabited sandbanks. It lies near the Thitu Island, where the Philippines maintains a military outpost. The latest dispute began last week. China's mouthpiece media claimed that it exercised sovereign jurisdiction over the Tetian Reef, which is the Chinese name for Sandy Cay. Next, a photo aired on its broadcaster. It showed Chinese officials in black uniforms, walking along the white sandbar. Another photo showed 4 officers holding up a Chinese flag. They called it a show of sovereignty. But the Philippines said, not so fast. Manila sent teams to multiple sandbars. On Sunday, it deployed the country's Navy, Coast Guard, and police on different parts of Sandy Cay, saying that the officers observed the illegal presence of a nearby Chinese Coast Guard's vessel and 7 Chinese maritime militia vessels. And then came this picture. It showed 5 officers holding the Philippine national flag on a white sandbar. By Sunday night, China retorted.
China's rights protection and law enforcement activities there are conducted in accordance with the law, aimed at countering the Philippines' illegal landings and other acts of infringement and provocation, firmly safeguarding national territorial sovereignty, ensuring that the reef remains uninhabited and without facilities.
This latest standoff in the contested waters risks further stoking tensions between the two countries, which have become increasingly fraught in recent years. It is also a key test for the Trump administration, with the U.S. being a mutual defense ally of the Philippines. Despite Trump's mercurial views on protecting its allies, his cabinet contains vocal China hawks. They have spoken publicly on needing to push back against China's growing ambitions in the Indo-Pacific region. And the timing of the latest stunt is crucial. It comes as the U.S. and Philippine forces are carrying out their annual war scenario drills, what's called the Balakatan exercises, where as many as 17,000 personnel are taking part. And in a first, missiles from the U.S. Marine Air Defense Integrated System were fired off the coast of the northern Philippines. So now China, in its usual fashion, seems to be acting out. It is trying to provoke the Philippines. But if this photo opportunity tussle proves anything, it is this. Beijing cannot bully Manila.